Struggling worm lying in the bed, looking about till he scratched his head, but the worm couldn't scratch his head.
Desmond Tutu.
Desmond Tutu.
Archbishop.
Desmond Tutu.
Desmond Tutu.
Archbishop.
Fans here, shit's about here. I'm just in the process of trying to stop one hitting the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Hi!
So Sting, take that. Worms. I am very excited to be working on a soundtrack for Steve Soderbergh's new film called Des, which is due to open the Cannes Film Festival. It's a biopic of a great man, Desmond Tutu, split into two movies. Part one concentrates on the first 30 years of his life when he was just Desmond, and part two will be concentrating on when he becomes Desmond Tutu. Now, he will be played by the fantastic actor Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen is one of the greatest actors of his generation. You've obviously seen him playing Tony Blair, Kenneth Williams, David Frost, Brian Clough. He also played Tony Blair. Here is a sneak preview of one of the tracks. It is called Tutu, Mia, Tutu, Warrior, Tutu, Father, Tutu, Bishop, Tutu, Friend, Tutu.
Desmond Tutu.
Desmond Tutu.
Archbishop.
Desmond Tutu.
Desmond Tutu.
Archbishop.
You fought AIDS and homophobia, poverty and racism. AIDS and homophobia, poverty and racism.
We are moving to freedom, and nobody can stop us, for God is on our side.
Hi there, Pornaholics. It's Brian here. What you can see behind me is the mixing desk at Soggle Sounds, which is my little studio deep in Soho, where it all goes on. Funny enough, just down the road, in another studio, Pat Quid is working on some tracks for his new solo album. You know Pat as well as I do. He was in Thoch with me. I found a member, and we go back a long, long way. We fell out about 12 years ago when he sued me over some royalties. I then countersued him over some more royalties, and then we had a bit of a ding-dong in the European Court of Human Rights over the name Thoch. But that's all water under the bridge now, and we're friends. So I think we're going to show you some film of us meeting because it's quite interesting. Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Yeah.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Just come back off tour and on the road, you know.
How was that?
Well, fun.
Good. How are the kids?
Yeah, kids are great. How's June?
She's good.
Good.
We split up. But she's okay.
Very expensive parking around here.
I have to go. I'm seeing a man about something. So I'm gonna go.
Yep.
So that was great to see my old friend Pat Quid, and he hasn't changed one bit, apart from his hair, which has dyed, and he's had some plastic surgery, I think, around the eyes, and a bit around the mouth. So, John, what's all this talk about a crisis meeting? I don't like that word crisis, you know. To me, a crisis is global warming.
What's all this about?
Oh, that's just for the website. Don't ignore it.
Crisis is just a word, Brian. I mean, it's not exactly a crisis yet. On the verge, you know. Fans here, shit's about here. I'm just in the process of trying to stop one hitting the other.
Okay.
A couple of things. EMI are asking after the new album. They want it delivered mid-October to be on the shelves by Christmas.
Well, as you know, John, I don't believe in Christmas, so I would rather not rush it and release it when it's ready.
And when will that be?
I would probably say around summer 2014.
Well, that's 5 fucking years away, Brian. I mean, music as we know it won't even exist by then. It'll have been replaced by robots or something.
Great. They do a better job than most of today's bands.
Can you do it any quicker?
Look, John, I don't know what the big deal's all about.
Well, the big deal, Brian, is the big deal. You signed for $8 million to deliver 4 albums in 6 years. That was in '92, and since then you've delivered one which sold less than 200,000 copies.
I did what the record company told me, and I did a promotional tour.
You did a promotional tour, Brian, of school halls in South America.
I was trying to reach a different audience.
Well, the audience you reached eat millet 3 times a day and sacrifice their children to the waterfall every time it rains.
You know what, John? You know what Fish told me? He said you cannot choose your audience. Dennis Nilsson was a big fan of Level 42, but you can't blame Mark King for that.
Well, the thing is, EMI want a commercial album this time. I mean, ideally, they want you rolling around in fruit again, you know, get back to the old stuff, make some fun videos, caterpillars crawling across your face, plasticine pigs, lemons in your eyes, that sort of stuff.
John, I'm a pioneer. I don't look backwards, I move forward. My last album had the lowest bass line ever recorded.
So what? Brian, if you don't do what they ask, EMI are threatening to cut the deal and ask for their money back.
What? They can't do that, can they?
Yep,
But I've spent all the money on Poggle.
I know. Can you see now why this is a bit of a crisis?
Yes.
If you can't deliver the album by Christmas, another idea is a covers album with you duetting with other artists. You know, they've all done it. Tom Jones, Shirley Bassey, Bob Plant and Alison Krauss. We just get a shit-hot producer like Mark Ronson or Ashcott B.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Sounds like a good idea.
Well, fine. Well, I've got a list of songs here and possible collaborations. In the Army Now with Tony Hadley. Message in a Bottle with them people. The Living Daylights with Suggs. Got My Mindset on You with From the Jam.
Who are they?
It's a jam without Paul Weller.
These are just people you represent. You're using me to fast forward their careers. No way. I want to work with cutting-edge artists. People like Bjork, Hot Chip, the Claxons, the Tomley Boos. You got any good news? It's all doom and gloom so far.
You've been asked by ITV to be in one of their audience with, you know.
Oh, they want me to sing?
No, they want you in the audience. It's an audience with John Barrowman. I've got a seating plan here. You can either go between Anne Widdecombe and Steve Cram or Todd Carty and Ross Kemp.
I'm not sitting next to that big gorilla.
Right, I'll put you next to Ross Kemp then.
I'm currently mixing 2 tracks for the Honeycomb Is Over album. This is a new project that I've been working on with some friends of mine to raise awareness for the declining number of bees. I don't know if you are aware, but bee numbers in this country are dwindling fast. There are many theories as to why they're disappearing. Some say it is the increase in Wi-Fi technology affecting their wings. Others claim they are being attacked at night by bats. However, I think they are simply getting bored of bumbling along from flower to flower collecting pollen, and they want something more out of life, rather like women in the 60s. Many artists have donated songs to this album, including Fall Out Boy, Snow Patrol, Zucchero, Yosendo, and the fabulous Duffy. Sadly, Sting declined for obvious reasons. I decided to record a bee stinging me. Not only would I get the sound of the sting itself, how I reacted to that sting, and then I would create a beat and a rhythm around that. It took a while to anger a bee enough to sting me, as they are kindly folk. So in the end, I shouted at them and I spat at the hive, which provoked the bees, and one stung me. And then to my horror, I realized that when he stung me, he would in fact die himself. And I watched the guy literally die on my arm. And before he croaked, he let out a tiny sound, like a sort of death rattle, which went sort of like... Let's hear the beat track now. And this is how it sounds in the mix in the song.
You're a bee who has died for me. You're a bee who has died for me. Honeycomb is over. Honeycomb is over. Honeycomb is over. For me and the bee. Honeycomb is over for me.
I don't know if you know this, but Sir Bob Geldof has taken a swipe at me in a ladies' magazine. He said I was nothing but a self-important fat elf who spent too much time hanging around with bongo drums. Well, I don't want to get into a slangy match and drag myself down to Bob's level, but I've got to say, the Boomtown Rats were rubbish. And you look like you got dressed in the dark. And your daughters are idiots. It's that time of year again when the Prince's Trust get together to raise money for the young and disaffected, and I'm not talking about his children. I've decided to donate some old stage costumes that I wore in the early days of Thoughts to the auction. Classic costumes such as the Giddy Fox and the Mole Man Snare. The Mole Man Snare was made of paper mache and reinforced steel and was really very, very heavy. Inside the costume, it would get very hot. When I came out, I smelt like a mole too. The suit was lowered onto the stage by a small crane driven by my old friend and roadie, Lenny Monkton. Lenny is sadly no longer with us. He passed away in 1976. He died of a particularly strong roll-up.